Every coach, every serious fan, you know the feeling. You spend the entire week drawing up the X's and O's. You've got your formation perfect on paper, and then the whistle blows and it just falls apart. So today, we're going to dive into what really happens to a team's shape once the game actually starts.
Yeah, this quote right here just nails it, doesn't it? You write down 4-3-3 all neat and tidy, but by the time you hit the 60th minute, you look out on the pitch and it's something you definitely didn't plan for. It can look like total chaos out there.
So the big question is that a failure? When your team's shape just dissolves, is that bad coaching? Is it a lack of discipline? Or is there something else going on entirely? That's the mystery we're going to solve right now.
Okay, so to get to the bottom of this, you can't just eyeball it. We need a way to actually measure this chaos. And that brings us to our very first tool. It's called hybridization deviation, or just HD for short.
It sounds complicated, but the idea is actually super simple. Think about it. Where was your left back supposed to be? And where did he actually end up on average throughout the whole game? HD measures that distance, that drift, for every player and gives you one single number for the team, in meters. It's basically a score for how much your team wanders off its leash.
So when researchers looked at a ton of matches, like 96 top teams in Europe, they found the average drift was 20.3 meters. 20 meters, that's pretty significant. And here's the key takeaway right away. Everybody drifts. This isn't an anomaly. It's just a fundamental part of football.
But here's where it gets really interesting. It's not the same for everyone. You've got teams like Chelsea and Getafe on one end, super disciplined, almost robotic in their shape. They barely drift at all. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you've got teams like Inter or Freiburg who are just all over the place, way more fluid. And this tells you something crucial. The amount of drift isn't about being good or bad. It's a choice. It's a direct result of how the coach wants the team to play.
Right, it's not random at all. There are very specific reasons for it. If you're a high-intensity pressing team, well, you have to drift. You have to leave your position to chase the ball. If your whole philosophy is based on players connecting and rotating, they're naturally going to drift. And of course, there's the big one, fatigue. As guys get tired, especially after that 60-minute mark, discipline just starts to go out the window.
All right, so now we can measure the drift. We have a number for it. But, and this is the really important part, is all that chaos good chaos or bad chaos? Because not all chaos is created equal. To figure that out, we need our next tool.
Yeah, that's the bottom line, isn't it? When your players leave their assigned spots and start swapping positions, is that actually helping you win the game? Or is it just making things worse? Are you creating value, or are you just destroying your own structure?
And this is where something called the Rotation Quality Score, or RQS, is so brilliant. It's designed to answer exactly that question. It looks at the moment right after players rotate or swap positions, and it measures whether the team's chance of scoring, what analysts call expected threat, goes up or down. So it's not just measuring movement, it's measuring the quality of that movement.
And you can see here it makes a huge difference. You've got teams like Brentford and Liverpool where their rotations almost always create a better scoring opportunity. Their RQS is way up in the positive. But then you look at other teams like Hamburg and Lyon in this study, and their rotations actually made them less of a threat. They were literally hurting their own attack by moving.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. You have the exact same physical action, two players switching places, but you get completely opposite results. Why? The difference is shared understanding. Does everyone on the field know why that rotation is happening and what to do next? It's all about that collective tactical brain.
So that whole idea of shared understanding leads us perfectly into our final piece of the puzzle. We need to know, is this movement on the field a planned, choreographed dance that everyone's practiced? Or is it just an improvised, chaotic mosh pit where everyone's doing their own thing?
Well, we've got a metric for that too. It's called rotation type distribution, or RTD. And what it does is it looks at all of a team's rotations and figures out if they're following set, repeatable patterns. You know, the kind of stuff you drill over and over again in training, or if it's just players making stuff up on the fly.
And again, when you look at the data, you see this massive split. On one side, you have teams like Juventus and Chelsea. Their rotations are so structured, so repeatable, you can tell they're a product of the training ground. Then you have the other extreme, teams like Werder Bremen and Everton, where the movement is much more improvised, much more individualistic.
So now, the tactical ideal, the holy grail really, starts to come into focus. What you want, what every coach is striving for, is to have rotations that are trained, repeatable patterns that's a high RTD score, and that also lead to better attacks, That's a positive RQS score. That's the magic combination. Okay, we have our 3 clues. We've got HD for how much drift, RQS for the quality of the drift, and RTD for how planned the drift is. Now let's put it all together and make the final diagnosis.
So let's go all the way back to our original question. Is a team that drifts a lot, a team with a high HD score, a problem? And now, with these tools, we can see the answer isn't just a simple yes or no. It's way more interesting than that.
So here's diagnosis number 1. We'll call it uncontrolled drift. This is when your team is all over the place. That's a high HD. The movement is totally improvised and random. That's a low RTD. And all that running around actually makes your attack worse. That's a negative RQS. This is the nightmare scenario. This is just bad chaos. It's value being destroyed.
But now look at this. You can have a team with the exact same high level of drift, a high HD, but this time the rotations are structured and practiced, a high RTD, and they consistently create better chances, a positive RQS. That's not a problem at all. That is creative movement. That's good chaos. It's a tactical weapon.
This is all fascinating stuff, but the real question is, so what? How can you, as a coach or an analyst, actually use this? Let's get practical and turn this from theory into something you can actually do.
Here are 4 simple steps you can take with your own video analysis. First, just figure out your team's baseline HD. Watch a few games and get a feel for it. Second, start looking for patterns. Who are the players that drift the most? Where do they go? Is there a reason? Third, start classifying those moments. When they rotate, does it lead to a good chance, or does the attack die? And finally, a really simple but powerful one. Compare the first half to the second half. If that drift number goes through the roof after halftime, you've probably got a fatigue issue on your hands. So from now on, when you're watching a match and you see the formation start to break down and look messy, you're going to have a new lens to see it through. Don't just ask, are they holding their shape? Ask the much smarter question, is this drift schematic or is it just random? Because the answer to that question, well, it tells you pretty much everything you need to know.